First item of business today. We have minutes. They were sent via email. I'll entertain a motion to accept as presented unless we have questions. I've mentioned it, and you can bring that up in other business regarding the minutes that from our drainage board.
Oh, okay.
We need to bring it up today. Allocate funds from lit
Okay.
for that, so just keep that in mind. We didn't approve it, it was just overlooked to be brought up. So,
Motion approved.
Second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, payroll number 5, calendar year 2021 totals $246,443.58. We had 164 claims totaling $338,471.18. Entertain a motion for the financials.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3-0. Scott, back to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Thank you.
Should we bring up how old you are?
You might as
on the
well.
record?
Everybody else knows it.
Well, I guess this morning. Just
It's an easy number.
6-0.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Sheriff.
As of this morning, we have 74 inmates in jail. 32 of those are pretrial superior, 19 pretrial circuit, 10 F6, and 9 DOC. I don't really have anything to report this morning other than the Gamaresco is coming Wednesday. Their project manager is to go over final touches on their energy study project that was before you guys a while back. So I'll learn a little more on the details of that. Other than that, we're still chugging along. I keep bringing up video court. I was in court Thursday to testify and saw they had all their cameras and TV monitors installed in Superior Court, so that's a good sign. We're chugging along on that. They're trying to work in when they can. Court obviously has busy schedules with everything going back into motion right now, so hopefully we'll get some progress going on that here shortly. So other than that, I don't have anything else significant to report at this time.
Great.
Good.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Scott.
it.
Great, thank you.
All right, Kim, we have you next.
Yeah, grab a cupcake, would you?
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning. First up, the dust control bid. We recommend Clean Trucking. We calculated the numbers. They came out to $1.47 a foot, which was the same as last year. Didn't go up any. The ad for dust control will be in the news banner 6 times, April 3rd through April 19th. And the sign up will be April 5th through April 30th. We started grading gravel roads. We've been over them 3 or 4 times and they're looking really good. We don't have any real problems that we come along. Couple suck holes here and there, whatever, for the pipe crew coming up. The guys begun to haul their gravel on their stone roads in their townships. They're just spotting some stone on some of the spots that are a little rough. Then they'll start coating some of the roads. We've been out cold mixing the potholes in the county, and we should get over it by the end of the week. Not finding a whole lot because of the freezing thaws, not really there like I have been in the past. So, and we'll go back over them again, looking for them, start next week again, until we can get ready for the oil truck to come out.
Sure.
We changed the brush cutter off of our tractor, put the rotary ditcher back on at the head, so we can start cutting some ditches and stuff like that come through the spring. Other than that, that's pretty much what's going on.
Great.
I don't know if I brought it up the last time, but when I was in Randolph County, I found out their highway department does not mow side ditches in their entire
Really?
county. So,
That's
I'm
kinda
not saying we should look into
No.
that, but I'm just saying, I
Save a
was
lot.
amazed
It would save a lot, but
of what they get by with, or, what's expected, so,
yes.
there you go.
Mr.
Thank you.
President, would you entertain a motion to accept the Clink bid for dust day?
Absolutely. Motion, second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
2-0. Good
Thank
deal.
you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, Nate, we have you following.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Couple of updates. I did have a conference call with NDOT last week regarding the status of the local traffic project, the Hoosier Highway to Adams Street interconnection. Letting at this point is anticipated as November of 2022, so that'll be the bid date with construction following, so it may be a early spring 23 construction window for the project. It's a little bit of delay. I think we had talked about it before from what was kind of like a maybe summer bid, but I think being a fall bid would be better for us as far as some of our numbers. So, and we're well within our schedule at this point. They just recently got some of the pavement design back, so we're looking at what the numbers might be as far as the construction cost. And certainly we've got some coordination with Panhandle Gas that they're working on. So we should have another conference call with them in the next week or two, because we want to get some more information from them. But quarterly, everything's on schedule and on track, so that's good to hear. And you do have a copy of that schedule in the packet I gave you. And I'll give this to mine. Next item is the Community Crossings Matching Grant Project, Bridge 121 and Guardrail Extension on 6 East. We had 5 bids received for that project. That bid opening was on March 4th. I'm requesting authorization to sign a letter of intent to award to RG Zachridge for the total base bid of $408,215.23. That's a combined bid for both of the two projects. I've not established a start date for the work, but we will be issuing a request NDOT to release the purchase order. Once I have that, then we can actually sign contracts and give them a notice to proceed. I believe the closure window is looking at, I believe it's 90 days. I'll have to look at the contract again to make certain of that, because it's just the rehab, it's just the top for that work. But we've given them a large construction window, so they're looking at that as possibly winter work going into next year, so it might be a year
To
before we start.
get our match, we have to be complete and submitted by X date. What date is that?
We actually get our match money ahead of time.
Okay.
This isn't a reimbursement. This is
Okay,
actually,
gotcha.
when we make the request to get the purchase order in, NDOT will wire us the money. And so we'll have our match from NDOT, the full match. Then we end up drawing that out. We put our money in, they'll draw it out, and then whatever's left over gets reimbursed back to NDOT. They'll send us an invoice at the closeout.
And it has to be completed by,
Well, what ends up happening is if it's not complete by, I believe it's June 30th of 2022, then we won't be eligible for community crossings.
future
managed
project, yeah.
second part of 22 until it's closed out. So they'll hold that on us. So there are liquidated damages if they go beyond that date, and I've kind of warned them. So right now, I think it's looking at as a winter project. It's going to depend on what other projects they're awarded this year. So,
Super.
but with your authorization, I'll send them a notice of intent. They'll get their bonds together and start getting their subcontractor list over to me, and so we should be ready whenever they're ready to go then at that point.
So
So,
I'll entertain a motion for that effect, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
2-0.
yeah, I didn't bring this up at the last meeting, but Purdue Road School's going on. It's actually 2 weeks, and it's all virtual. There's not 17 classes to go to each hour. It's sort of, here's your class, here's the window. You log in to watch, so I've been participating in that this year. There's a couple of good classes, but certainly it's not quite the same thing. The selection's just not quite there. So I'll be doing that a little bit this week over Tuesday through Thursday mornings for those classes. I do have for you, I think, Blake, I gave you 2 copies of this. I did have a conference call with RQAW and Alton Witzig last week to kind of review the scope of the site design for the highway garage. And I did get the proposal from Alton Witzig to do the investigation for a foundation design and a tower design. They've got 6 borings on that, 5 for foundation, 1 for radio tower. Total for the proposal is for an estimated fee of $3,700. And I'm requesting your approval on proceeding with that. If so, I could have them start on that. I should.
Just to update you, Nate, Kim, and I met on site. A week ago, maybe 10 days ago.
Yeah.
We went out and just to kind of visualize the drain for the feature we approved and possible approximation, whether the drive comes in on the west side or comes in on the east side, approximate where these borings need to happen. So I just wanted to let you know what we did, so.
Yep.
So this is just with Alton Witzig for that
Yep.
boring contract?
Yep, I should have a proposal from RQAW by your next meeting to look at possibilities of how you'd want to proceed with overall facility design. It's a limited scope to start off with, but I'll send, as soon as I have it, I'll send it to you in advance of the meeting, and we can discuss it at your April meeting.
The
So,
other option would be to delay this to make that at our next meeting, but the other option would be to approve both, if you think that's.
well, I guess I was just curious what, with RQAW, where that is going in terms of, I know they've done some initials, right?
They've done some preliminary work, essentially with the anticipation of getting a contract with you for the full design or even design build or
Portion of it.
a portion of it. So right now, what I've discussed with them is to try to use some of the funds from the sale of a piece of the county farm. I think you sold that part east of the county home road. There was some anticipation of using that funds to do early design, essentially schematic design, like through 20%. So I've had discussions with them if they would potentially serve as either the architect designer all the way through design bid build scenario where you're going out to bid publicly, or if you wanted to do a design build scenario, as a lot of the public schools are doing, and then you would use RQAW to do 20% of the design and then serve as your criteria developer and inspector. So then you would bring them on board as essentially your advocate to work with design build firms. So they would manage the project. They're willing to look at both options. The scope of work that they're going to present to me is going to look at being able to do either or. So, and once I have that, they haven't done that work recently, but they're more than capable to do that with the professionals on staff. So my hope would be is that they'd give you as much flexibility. So you could do any of those, even design build leaseback scenarios. I think we passed a resolution or an ordinance that allowed you to do that on this project.
Right.
Even that would be a possibility in this scenario.
Had people just would like to see the opportunity for local business to be.
Yeah, that's where I'm
bidding on
going.
it, either with the project or a
Right.
portion of the business.
Right, so that's where I'm going with this. So my question is, since the question's been raised to us
Mhm.
in terms of, I know we've worked with RQAW going through this, that's fine.
Sure.
But moving it forward, working with our council members and to look at this, I don't know that we've even talked to anybody else about it, have we? Really?
You haven't
We
done
haven't
the
talked to really
RFQ.
anybody, I went to look at White County, I went to look at.
Right,
Randolph
and
County,
we,
that's it.
right, and I know, but as it's come around, it's gained a lot more.
Sure.
It's getting to the point where we either need to form a committee or.
Yeah, that's
do
why I just don't
something.
want to get into something
This would
that
be
we
fairly
haven't
limited.
already worked out with you guys. You know what I'm saying? I just,
Yeah.
would you guys agree with that,
Oh,
Mike? I mean, to get a little more,
Is he just talking about preliminaries though right now?
yeah, but it's rolling into a design of it.
Well, this would take you through an early schematic design. You haven't done really an art request for qualifications advertisement for
Right.
this, which you can do that, certainly. That'd be a way to try to open the gates up saying, hey, we're gonna bring in any number of design consultants, do a selection and scoring, and then make a selection of where you wanna move. The geotech, I think, was one of the conditions of the purchase agreement for the ground. That's why I would probably
Yeah, and
recommend
that's, I'm
moving
good
forward
with that. I don't have a problem.
The RQAW, as far as just simply looking at that, I guess what I would just need to know is a direction on if you wanted to invite firms to put together a scope of
This
work and
is,
fees.
this is what I mentioned to Kim and Nate and Lindsay, is that can we just get our heads together to sit down and say, what do you think we need?
We haven't done that.
And we haven't done that.
Right, that's where I'm at.
Well, and part of our dilemma is we haven't had the scenario as with like the jail project where you've got Amoresco and Elevatus putting a development together. Very
Right,
similar
right.
scenario. We don't have that professional to
Right,
do
right,
that
right.
for the highway department.
Right.
So part, I think, the inaction or what the council wants, we're not able to provide because Kim, Lindsay, myself, we just don't have the time and the expertise to put
Mhm.
together
Right.
that design for this project. So it appears that we're not making traction Well, it's because we don't have the advocate putting together really the estimates and the plans for it.
And that's what I mentioned just
So-
earlier today, is that possibly if I can meet Friday with them, just to get their ideas what they
Oh,
want to
that's
do.
great.
Sit down,
No,
and, you know, if they want a huge building, they want 4 buildings, or how they want the driveway to come in, and just the flow of things, you know.
Yep.
What's needed and necessary, what stuff is, just gotta have, and then, you know, a lot of will go into is equipping each building for what you need inside, so.
Well, my question for you, Nate, is that item B here that we're talking about, that's only for that 3,700, and that kind of thing's gonna have to happen,
That's,
anyway,
Yep.
right?
no, that's a lead item.
And there's no other hooks in that other than this.
Yep, no, it's one of the preconditions of your purchase agreement. I think it'd be wise for us to have that to make sure what you're going into is a good piece of ground, that you're gonna be able to do what we want to, and it will be good information for whatever design firm you do and whatever you plan on doing. It's a wide area, it's sort of a shotgun approach. If we need to supplement it with additional borings, we can do that. You're not going to pay an arm and a leg to do that. Altwitz has been very fair to the county, and we're repeat business for them, so if we did need to have them come out, I could try to coordinate that with another project potentially, but he's given a price, so I think it's like $200 and some per foot for additional borings if they need to do additional footage. So that's kind of how their calculation works for that. But
did he give you a time frame, or is it in the contract?
I don't think
When he
he's
has
whether-
to have it done?
no, but I think they're gonna try to get that scheduled as soon as possible.
So,
Because I just had my conversation with him probably Thursday of last week, so, and he got me the proposal this morning. So they're willing to get out here as soon as we can give them a release, and as long as the field is suitable to drive in.
yeah,
That'll be the other thing, is if it's saturated, they can't get their rig stuck.
a lot of times in March it is saturated. Right now, we're lucky, but.
Yeah,
depends
well,
if we get-
rain on the way, that
today
might be a
or-
dilemma, so.
Right, it might delay it a week or something, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
sure.
that's possible. So,
I
Nope.
think it's,
No, I'm good with the Altwoods.
yeah,
Yeah.
700, I'm okay with that, so.
yeah, and if you've got other input as far as how you want to proceed with the design professional or consultant on it, certainly let me know. If you got other firms you'd like to get proposals from, how we want to package that, I'm more than willing to look at whatever options we can, because I want to give you the answers that you want as far as moving forward on that, so.
Perfect.
All right,
Do we have a motion on
We
that?
didn't-
I make a motion, we approve Altwoods 6,700.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Next item here is the small structure inspections. We've been working with Jansen and Spahn in the last 4-year cycle. We're trying to match these up so we do the small structure inspections parallel with the overall National Bridge inspection contract. That's going to Butler from Seifert for the 2021 through 2024 calendar years. So we want to try to get this contract lined up to kind of parallel that. Jensen Spawn's done work for us, they have the program, so I got a number from them to continue this process. And total agreement over 4 years is for $56,807.30. It's broken down in that agreement as far as how much is in each year. I didn't put that on this table, but it's more on the years for the big contracts, because we do kind of skip around a little bit, because we're looking at some bridges. Most structures get inspected at least in this every 8 years. The 15-foot and over to the small, to just below bridges are inspected on a 4-year cycle. That's the program that we've kind of put in place to make sure we don't have any catastrophic failures. We try to get ahead of that game. Work will cover the physical inspection and reporting of these small structures between 4-foot span and 19.99 feet. These structures aren't eligible for federal funds, so I can't use federal dollars for inspection of those, but are certainly critical within our bridge asset management plan. Recent history means we need to keep up with these inspections. It's the basis of what we do for the small structure replacement schedule. Kim and I were out last week, and I think it was the week before, looking at a number of these. And sometimes you're surprised by the deterioration from one inspection 2 or 3 years ago to what you find in the field today. So we want to make sure that we maintain that program. And so with that, I'd recommend approving that contract.
Is this funding
This would
Cambridge,
come,
or
this would
is
come
this
out of the
gonna-
LIT. So we've got that
Okay.
scheduled out of the LIT fund.
How long have we been doing it?
We have
12.
the first inspection, I think, was done in 2003. The second one was done as late as 2013. We signed a small contract with Jansen Spawn for like the last 2 years.
Right.
1918 to get
Right.
on this program. This will be the first contract where we're actually full-blown in that 4-year
Right.
cycle.
Right.
So it's actually, I think, in conversations with Jen Sharkey, she established something very similar to this in Steuben County as their county engineer. So it's a process we really need to follow. Not doing the inspections, I think, will just cause us some trouble in the long term.
We can stay ahead of things rather than
Absolutely.
having them bite us in the
Yep.
backside. So
I think when Kim and I were out looking at some of the structures, we were surprised by the advanced deterioration of some. Other ones, based on the inspections, when they're done, sometimes the bottom's in better shape, so I'll postpone the recommended date, maybe like one I postponed in 5 years. But we need to stay on top of it. We've got the funds. They are, theoretically, we could go for community crossings for some of these if we would like to do that. But certainly until we get ahead of the bridges, it's not something it's not cost effective to do that.
do you have any issues, Roy, with the contract?
I
Have you seen
actually
the
did.
documentation yet?
I neglected to forward that one to Roy, I believe. So if you wanted to make that approval conditional upon Roy's review, certainly that'd be fair.
That would be my recommendation, gentlemen.
Yeah, pending review on that.
Yeah. No, I should have done that.
Make that in a motion. Michael?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Next item, utility permits. I've got 3 utility permits, 2 from Citizens Telephone, 1 from Adamsville's Internet. I think all 3 of those were brought up during Drainage Board meeting earlier today. This is just for use of the public right-of-way beyond the legal drainage easements. I'd recommend approval on all 3.
So moved.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
And last item here, do we have any other right-of-way dedications? I didn't receive any, but I leave it on just in case. So, nope, having none, then we'll just drop that.
Thanks, Nate.
All right.
Excellent.
Any other questions for me?
Right now.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I don't think so.
We talked about that.
Yes, yeah, we discussed it, but I don't remember seeing anything come yet.
Like, can't approve it till we see it.
Right. All right. Next item of business. Jerry. Flood awareness.
Morning.
Good morning.
Again. As you said, March the 15th through the 19th is Flood Safety Awareness Week. Here representing the Long Beach Basin Commission. Have some pamphlets that I passed out earlier. And then I also have 2 proclamations that I've asked the commissioners would sign declaring that week Flood Safety Awareness Week.
Move. Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
While you're signing those, just a couple of little nuggets of information. I think it used to be said that about 40% of flood damage claims came from outside of designated flood zones. Currently, I think at last year's audit of all the flood insurance claims, it's up to about 70% of damage claims actually come from outside of delineated flood zones. Just something to keep aware of.
Well, I know we had a big rain last summer. Certain areas got inundated, but most of them were not in a flood zone.
Yes. Typically, homeowners' insurance does not cover flood damage, so. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob, we have you next.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Jacob Slusher, and I serve as Wells County Farm Bureau President. Wells County Farm Bureau has just over 1,000 voting members that are either directly involved in the production of agriculture or agribusiness. We are a grassroots organization advocating for agriculture, not only here in Wells County, but throughout the state of Indiana and across the nation. We are the parent company of Farm Bureau Insurance. March 23rd, we are celebrating National Ag Day, and our 13-member board wanted to highlight agriculture and share the scope of the industry in Wells County in honor of this day. So first, I have just 3 trivia questions for you, and don't worry, 2 of them are multiple choice, and one's true false. So, Indiana ranks first in the nation in production of what product? Got A, watermelon, B, duck, C, soybeans, or D, corn? Any guesses? Number 2? Correct.
You
You're right,
cheated.
duck.
No, I didn't. No, for Maple Farms or whatever.
Yeah, Maple Creek.
Maple Creek Farms.
Yep. The second one, the average U.S. farmer feeds roughly how many people? A, 5, B, 25, C, 90, or D, 150?
I'd say C or D. but
Yeah,
it's
C or
just
D.
me.
Let's see.
It's D, 150. And then in 1960, that number was actually just 26 people. So it's grown immensely throughout the years. And then the last one is true false. On average, farmers receive only 15 cents for every dollar spent on food. True or false? Receive only 15 cents
So
for every dollar
the correct
spent on
answer is
food.
true.
True.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yes,
true.
Yes, true, yep. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, the rest goes for costs beyond the farm gate, including wages, markets for, materials for production, processing, etc. That number in 1980 was 31 cents, is what the farmers received. So I just wanted to give you just some quick fun facts there. For Wells County, some statistics from Wells County I got from USDA and NASS. These are the most current numbers I could find. 2017, the cropland acres in Wells County is 215,386, and that ranks 13th in Indiana. There's also for 2017, the number of farms is 581. That's 46th in the state of Indiana. In 2018, the cash receipts, gross cash receipts for crop and livestock were 186,324,000. That's 18th in Indiana. And then the top 2 species of livestock raised in Wells County are dairy cows, around 3,100, and that's 11th in Indiana. And then hogs, which is just over 180,000, and that's actually 8th in Indiana. Right? Wells County ranks 8th in Indiana. So as you can see, Wells County has a lot of acres in ag production. Roughly 1/3 of the property taxes come from agriculture, land, and livestock. We have a lot of business in the county that directly or indirectly support agriculture. Some of these businesses are ADM, Alliance Nutrition, TTG Equipment, equipment dealer, Tri-County New Holland equipment dealer, Valero Renewable Fuels ethanol plant, Cornerstone Feed Mill, Helena Agri Enterprises with locations in Markle and Craigville, meat processing facilities, Aussie Meats, Lingers Meats, Gerber Lochter, and then the agri-finance, some of those would be Farm Credit, First Bank of Bern, First Merchants. Farm Bureau is proud of the agriculture landscape of Wells County, from our traditional grain and livestock producers to endeavors such as farm-to-table efforts like, farm-raised eggs, honey and syrup, to new entrepreneur endeavors such as wineries and breweries. We're going to leave you with a taste of Wells County, and that's what we actually brought in. I can bring those up real quick so you can see as I talk to you. Kevin, you didn't realize you were getting an extra birthday present.
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I'm gonna say it for Kevin.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helen, do you have a pie in there?
That's probably all we needed to bring.
That would have been all.
I'll catch up with you. Okay?
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
So what you'll find in your basket is pork chops from Austrian Smoked Meats, smoked sausage from Lingridge Meats, maple syrup from Dash 90 Winery. The milk represents the dairy producers in the county. Weaver popcorn, there's popcorn grown in Wells County for Weaver. Wheeler honey, and then there's a little tractor in there from TTG equipment, the ag equipment. So we hope you enjoy these products and remind you that we're here as a resource for you with any projects related to agriculture. We appreciate the partnership with the commissioners and thank you for your service to the county. And we look forward to a continued relationship with you guys. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
You're invited to county council meeting.
Similar presentation later.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Okay. Monthly reports.
Oh, I did have someone from Nationwide come and speak to me about offering additional choices to the employees that do contribute to Nationwide. This is at no additional fees to them, no additional fees to the county. It just gives them additional choices of where to put their money.
Would that be something that would be beneficial at an employee meeting?
He would come to the employee meeting if
If we
yes.
choose,
Yes.
correct, then he would present it at maybe an employee meeting?
Right. We have to sign an application to change our current contributions and allow this additional contribution, which I can sign this, but you just have to approve it. And then he will do employee meetings and explain what they would need to do.
But no other initiation, application, and fees, withdrawals, or anything? It's totally voluntary?
Correct.
Did you have the opportunity to see?
That's something else on my plate over the weekend.
No kidding. No kidding. Does he have a deadline when it needs to be?
No.
Let's have him when he gets a chance, just to make sure it's, I had no issues since it's voluntary.
Right, and I forwarded that email to all of you.
Did you guys have any questions, comments for her?
I don't know, it's
Before we
completely just
approve it?
another place that employees can put money if they so choose.
Right.
That's all it is, right?
Right.
I don't have a
Yeah.
question.
If you have any questions?
No, same with me.
You wanna make a motion or wait?
I don't have a problem making a motion
Okay.
pending Roy's perusal of it. That would be in addition to perf, right?
Correct.
Right.
Voluntary.
Kev's got a motion, second?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
And then we had the disaster declaration form. I had emailed you version 1 and version 2. Version 1 states that the next 7 days, unless continued or renewed, would be the disaster declaration. And version 2, you insert the length, correct?
Right. Did you add something to that? Did you want to add?
That was it, version 2 is the
We're
only
good.
thing
Cool. Commissioner Vanover suggested that you have the option of designating the length of that, and you can always renew it. I think we talked last week that, you know, often in the nature of emergencies, you would meet, commissioners would meet telephonically and agree upon declaration, and then you could specify, you know, the hours or days that you wanted it declared for.
would prefer option 2, but that's me speaking out
That's
loud.
where I'm at.
Yes.
Want to make that a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, second.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
And then I just have county highway garage listed. If you want us to talk about anything.
The only updates I would have would be, have been contacted by Metropolitan Title with respect to title insurance commitment. And I said, well, I didn't order it, but the Mossbergs had dropped off the copy of the option. And they called me about that. I said, actually, the option agreement called for Wells County Land Title to close it, but I said, I can't make that decision, but as far as my recommendation to commissioners, I wouldn't have a problem with either place doing it. It's just
Different than the
unfortunate
agreement.
that somebody doesn't read the document to know what's supposed to be done. That's for you if you care or don't care who actually closes it when we close or who does the title commitment.
I have no preference. I don't need it.
Yeah, I don't have an option.
And the other thing is Commissioner Gerber and I have been emailed about Mossberg's plans for the east 20 acres. Again, the option agreement gave the county a right of first refusal, and it's like, would have been nice to see it ahead of time, but said, well, we're going in to sign the agreement and we'll need you to waive it. So we have not seen a copy to know what price or what are the terms are for the sale. So nothing to report other than I wouldn't think you would waive it until at least you knew what it was.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see it in black and white. Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, we could have it as quickly as Dave, maybe this week, you know. How do we want to, do we have to meet in executive session to
Well,
accept it, decline it, counter it?
It has to do with an option you've already signed, so you
Right.
can't have a special, you can't have an executive session.
Right.
My suggestion would be that we tell them the commissioners aren't going to decide till at least they see it. So if they want the commissioners to pass on that, get it to us, but get it to the commissioners before the next commissioners meeting.
Okay. That will be April 5th or 6th or whatever the date would be our next decision.
I'll make that one.
Yeah.
Fifth sounds right, I'm not sure.
You know, in actuality, you're not a,
Fifth.
Fifth,
the county's not actually even exercised the option yet. But with the geotech studies being done, hopefully, you know, by that time, we'll have some input to be able to maybe decide on that, as
Right.
well as the Fichter's request for retiling.
Correct. Any other questions, guys, on the form? The only thing I'm thinking out loud is that we should have Roy investigate options and possibilities to consider selling the farm ground at county farm, to figure out a way to auction it off or something to that effect, maybe in September, October, November-ish, November, December timeframe. So funds could be used
July 4th.
toward this project we're trying to encounter.
We know the procedure from what happened when the county sold that small piece of ground east of County Home Road. The only difference that I would see, the quantity and value of the ground involved, I would think we would maybe want to consider professional auctioneer rather than just bids here on that morning.
Yeah.
And whether a requests for proposals to licensed auctioneers in the county or surrounding counties be sent to see what they might propose as far as their plans for an auction, as well as commission and costs.
Sounds more than prudent to me.
I think it would be helpful to you guys and everyone, kind of have a plan going forward, so.
That sounds prudent.
So maybe we can have something either in April or first week of May, first meeting of May to.
I'll look over
Get
that
some direction.
statute again, and my recollection was most things, whether you're buying or selling, I think we need appraisals, and I don't know whether the commissioners start or whether we've got to go to council, but whatever it is, we'll revisit that and go forward.
Why would we need an appraisal for that?
Because you're selling public ground.
Okay.
We'll keep you guys in the loop,
Okay.
and if you have questions that
Yeah.
you haven't heard or got an answer for, let us know so we can.
My
Run them up the
recollection,
chain.
Steve, was it can't be sold for less than the average of the two appraisals.
I doubt that would happen, but.
Right, but that's why the statute's there, I
Sure,
guess.
yeah.
So let's keep that in mind, to keep everybody in the loop.
Yep.
So, perfect.
Appreciate moving on that.
Yeah. What else do you have?
I don't have anything further
Nothing else? Okay.
till after.
Anything else, Roy, that you can think of?
Not until the hearing,
Right, at 10.
yeah.
10:30?
Yes.
Yep.
I got an email from the SRO officer at Southern Wells
Yes, thank you.
asking about signage along
300 West.
3 West down in the school system. I told him I would bring it up. Question was raised, I guess, for us to maybe purchase signs, is the way my understanding is. And in the past, as a county, we've never purchased signs for school systems, though when they've requested us, we have offered our right-of-way up and with possibilities of helping them, install some engineering, things like that. That being said, the other schools, I believe, fall on where they have representation of safety, signage, etc., fall on state highways. So with that being said, I mentioned I would bring it up, that there might be some opportunities that we could help them facilitate some money to work with them, but I don't know if that is actually at this point come from a school board through the SRO officer. We don't know that yet, but I mentioned I would bring it up for just discussion, moving it forward.
I met with Chad, or maybe not me, I talked on the phone with Chad, that tomorrow morning I have a chamber meeting, and normally Mr. Sloan has attended, and my intention is to bring it up to him and ask him where it is in the school board system, if it's been brought up, if it's something they would like to move forward, how we can assist in the planning. So,
Nate, did we have some email regarding the school?
There was some communication and investigation into it. There has been some analysis done of the area that I think our concern is on 300 West. So I would definitely, before we purchase signs or agree to purchase signs, I think we need to look at kind of some of the recommendations that Sherry Faust put together from NERC for us. There is an issue with queuing of parents during drop-off in the morning. That's a safety concern for us. Signage for speed wouldn't necessarily address the queuing issue in the area. The county has, with the speed limit ordinance change from the fall, extended the speed zone because the school has moved driveways further south. So we're updating signage to move our speed zone for the school further south for anticipation of that. But I think we need to look at how we want to address the queuing issue when we do that investigation of signage.
Would you explain the queuing issue?
What's happening is during the drop-off, all of the parents can't get into the parent pickup loop on the school property, so they end up stopping northbound on 300 West.
Okay.
So it's parents coming up, parents or grandparents coming out, they have to wait in the public right of way to turn into the school because they can't get in the parking lot. That's a safety concern. I think that's one of their issues.
But the queuing issue aside, though, I mean, if we could do anything to raise awareness or create more visibility there, we're arguably increasing safety for our students.
So certainly
Having
is.
just picked up my daughter at Lancaster, my granddaughter, they have traffic looped 4 or 5 different times as you go into their parking lot.
Correct.
So, and then they have people standing outside with a walkie-talkie, and you have your card number, so you know which kid gets sent out of school as you pull up.
Yeah, there's
I thought
still
it was
ways to do it.
remarkable.
Yeah,
the
still
way
ways
it
to
worked out.
staggering or different.
Staggering or
whatever.
looping or making
Yeah.
them wind, you can get more vehicles in the parking area.
They had,
when you do that.
the queuing diagram that I saw that Nate sent me, they had 2 entrances, and they were using one entrance to come in, and then they'd snake around and exit the other, so that the queuing that took place in the school property rather than sitting out on the county road.
Right.
I think there with the discussion with the SRO or the school board, I think it needs to be discussions made between the two bodies. It certainly wouldn't be something where I want to just say, thou shalt do X, Y, or Z. I think it needs to be a joint kind of discussion and review of their operations.
Absolutely.
I don't want to just dictate how they got to change their operations, but as part of any agreement with the school, I would definitely recommend that you get some understanding of how their system operates, what can be done, and how you might be able to work together on a solution that's beneficial and safe. But certainly it's going to be your decision on how you want to proceed.
Yeah, I've also gotten a handful of calls on that too, so I know it is an issue.
Sure.
You know, people ask me about signs, so I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yep, we'll see how it goes, and we'll keep everybody abreast before we make any decisions, so.
Sure.
Great. Anything else, Kev?
I don't believe so.
Michael, anything we overlooked?
No, sir, we're good.
Okay. Jessica? Okay. Council members? Ed, you have a question, or?
I do have one. I saw where Nate transferred money to buy a grader. I just want to know when it was bid, because I've never found anything where it was bid. It's never advertised in the paper, and I'm sure it's well over 150,000.
So was that a tandem bid on the are you talking about the second one, Ed?
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
So the
I saw that they
second
transferred.
grader, my understanding was there was one purchased, and the bid was piggybacked, if I follow this right, was piggybacked off the back of that initial bid.
Was it bid?
I don't know that.
Because I never found anything on that either.
Well,
Never a legal ad, there was,
well, that was prior supervisor.
yeah.
And I guess if it wasn't bid, shame on us. But I will tell you, Ed, that knowing how that process works and understanding what's in the taxpayer's best interest, and having done some research on it afterwards, that the bids that were taken, be it Cat, Case, John Deere, which we bought the John Deeres, that when they were asked for the bids, they weren't given in a fashion due to COVID as it was moving forward. The second part of that equation is, when it was all said and done, after we look at this, was it done properly? No, shame on us. But what I will tell you is, as a low bid came in by one of those, as a representative of the taxpayers, and knowing what we had going in with our equipment costs for the low bid, I was not gonna go for the low bid. I don't care if it was $100,000 less, because I know the amount of money we were spending to repair equipment. So based on the supervisor at the time, I supported that. And if that's the way it went, okay. But I will tell you that as a representative, again, of your tax dollars, we did the right thing. Now, moving
So
forward.
You don't know if you took bids in the first one, right?
My understanding is that they were requested.
Was there specifications?
I don't know that, Ed. I can't answer that. But you know what, Ed? I will tell you that in all your years of serving, how long did you serve, Ed?
37 years.
37 years.
And
Okay?
We get everything by the book.
Well-
You guys know that.
Ed, that's great. But ever since you've left, Ed, I don't know why you're throwing sticks.
I'm a taxpayer in this county.
And I represent you, and guess what?
I'm a taxpayer in this
And I'm
county.
telling you, what we did, whether right or wrong, and I'm sorry that if that's the way it occurred, unbeknownst to us, moving it forward, okay? That's all come and gone. But what is done is right. And I stand by those purchases.
Okay.
Was it a quality issue?
Yes.
Thank you. Hearing anything else?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
The commissioners have advertised for a hearing on the commissioners establishing a county cumulative capital development fund under Indiana Code 36.9.14.5. So that time's come, and matter's open for hearing on that issue. I would say that the issue before the commissioners is to create a fund, not necessarily to fund it. So basically, it gives the county another tool in its toolbox for raising funds for capital improvement projects. The statute actually allows the funds to be used for any purpose that property tax may be used. So it's not earmarked for county highway garage or county jail. It's just that the county is facing some issues with respect to investments of cumulative capital nature. We did this last year, but it was coming up for a decision by the commissioners at about the time COVID hit, and it was dropped. So with the county highway garage and possible consideration of jail expansion, it was felt appropriate at least to bring the matter up again as to whether or not the commissioners wanted to establish a fund. Again, the commissioners can't actually levy a tax. That would be a matter left to county council.
Great description. Any comments from the public on this?
I'd just like to comment from council's perspective that we do need this fund because there are projects coming up that we're going to need to have some tools to raise the funds to do the projects. So this is the timing that this needs to be happening, and it will give us a tool to move forward. So appreciate that.
It's consistent with what the commissioners have done within the last year or so. The commissioners adopted a bot ordinance. Didn't require them to use it to build anything. It's just statute said if you wanted to consider a bot ordinance as a means of financing a public construction, you had to do it by an ordinance. So that ordinance is placed. This is another, again, tool for the county's consideration for capital projects.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just had a couple questions. I don't know if I'm going to ask Kevin this, but I'll just bring them out. Gas tax increase that went in 2017. Your funds went up considerably in local road, street, and MBH. Can you use some of that funds to pay for a highway garage? Budget that? I know, what, 60% of it you have to use for
50.
maintenance.
50%?
50%, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something I'm throwing out there because, like I say, your funding went up considerably. Well, from 18 to 28, I think it still goes up, what, a penny a year? It's supposed to go up to 31 cents, I think, in July. So your revenue should keep coming. And just a question about the money for 301. Is that earmarked for anything? Because you're supposed to get another $1 million in for it, aren't you? Have $3 million?
Nate?
That's been, the 301 money has been earmarked towards the local tracks project.
Okay.
And the County Road 200 South Federal Aid project, hopefully we'll get the remainder of that. So those are the earmarks for those. So over $1 million, almost $1.5 million for the local tracks project. And I think the county's obligation is about $700,000 for 200 South.
The first phase.
For the first phase, and so that almost eliminates that, but those projects were all done using those funds, so we haven't had to increase anything else. And I know we've been trying to be somewhat aggressive with the gas tax. We saw it go up, and then from what I understand, we've had a bit of a pullback with COVID. Nobody really wants to assume that everything's going to go back to the trajectory that it was yet. So
And it depends how much it goes up in
Correct.
price to the amount of
Of the
reduction of
use.
travel
So
that's gonna happen.
with gas prices going up, it's actually good for the
It's
county as far
good
as
until
we're
people
engaged, till
figure
people
it
stop
out
using. And
quit
so,
traveling.
so
There's gonna be a
it's,
trade-off.
I guess it's something that could be entertained. The risk is that it fluctuates so much. So it's very difficult to budget a bond against a certain amount of money, because once you commit that, it'll be very difficult if you have a retraction in the economy at any point. And since you've got restricted funds, essentially you need to make sure you're spending all that, so.
So far this year, the revenue's been on track.
It's been on
It
track
hasn't been-
to-
Yeah, we were down a few months the end of the year as far as highway money, but it's
Yeah.
been elevated again. But, you know, the estimated revenue when we did budgets was low, so we budgeted low.
Yeah, so there was quite a bit, I mean, when Josh put the budget together, he cut a lot out of that budget. And I suspect we're probably gonna go back, depending on what we see come in, we're gonna be going back and trying to put some projects back in to the budget
Yeah,
for,
things
before
we
the
cut
end of
out to
2021.
Yeah,
because
because he
of
didn't
that.
put
We cut
any
hard
roads.
because we weren't sure we were gonna be, so like road
Mix
conversions
projects
were
and
out.
things like that were.
So, but until we see that, and with Kim serving as the interim superintendent, we weren't really trying to force a lot of changes on the budgets yet, so.
Yeah, he took a lot out of highway and put it into local road and street just to get,
Just to try to be,
Mhm.
just try to be cautious, I think, at that
Mhm.
point, because you were completely guessing on when things were gonna happen.
Mhm.
So, we should have a better picture going into this year, but, yeah. But no, I'd say the 301 money that we've got is essentially dedicated. I think I've given you a projection as far as where your match money is for some of your federal aid and local tracks projects. And I'd like to make sure that we keep some cushion
Well, you
for
have to.
inflation,
You have
because
to.
the local tracks job, if your budget, if it goes over budget, the county is essentially obligated for that overage. So we want to be cautious moving forward. We don't over
At the state
obligate.
house, they could change percentages and mess things up too.
So,
Thanks, Nate.
sure.
But that said, we'll be looking at all avenues for where we need to fund things from for these projects. It's not just, but I appreciate the comment that could be a possibility.
Additional comments? No, we can close the hearing. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. And recessed, anything else before the board today, Lisa?
yes.
We have a resolution for the commissioners, should they decide, following the hearing, to establish a county capital cumulative development fund. And if you pass that resolution, I also have a notice of adoption, which needs to be advertised in the newspaper. All these are scheduled for, time short, we have, an April 30 deadline to submit these documents. The notice of adoption starts a remonstrance period, and I believe that remonstrance is 50 more taxpayers, and I think that the date is, I think it's 10 days for that as opposed to 30s, depending, since it's a type of cumulative fund, this is a county cumulative capital development fund. So I submit for your consideration the resolution drafted to establish the fund.
What number would that be?
Yes, yes, sorry. 2021-04.
So I'll entertain a motion to accept 2021-04.
So moved.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
that motion approving both of them or just the one?
As a resolution, I'd make a motion, we approve of the adoption.
Notice of adoption.
It was correct.
You have a second on that, Michael?
Second, yes.
And all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
You can't push the DD adoption until after that.
Public hearing.
You can- Correct.
Check your eye, please.
On this one too, all three of them. Ones. Did you send the notice of adoption down also?
He's got it right here.
Okay.
Either way. He's good, Kevin.
Anything else, Ray?
No.
Anything else?
Nope. Kev, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Now, adjournment. Okay, motion.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. We're all done.